youth program. Oh, yes, thank you. With BMO Bank, and we're going to have Anne-Marie and Angeline conducting this workshop for us. So pay attention. If you have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat, or you can write them down and keep them to ask them whenever Anne-Marie and Angeline are talking, or at the end when we have a short Q&A session. So I'm going to hand it over to Anne-Marie and Angeline. Thank you again, guys, for doing this for us. We're very, 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 very grateful.
Well, absolutely, Zoe, and thank you for giving us an opportunity. We're very happy to be here to be able to provide some financial literacy for you. And like Zoe said, please, if you have any questions, let us know because we're here to help. Just quick introduction. My name is Anmarie Cohen. I'm a financial wellness specialist. I have over 35 years of banking experience, most of that being spent as a branch manager. One thing that I did love in my branch manager role is I was able to grow my staff. I've seen countless tellers, that are now managers. Some are even above me, but that's okay. I'm fine with that because I love the growth and the financial education piece. So that's kind of the reason why I'm in this role. Originally from New York, I moved to Arizona about 21 years ago, where I currently reside, and that's how long I've been with BMO. When I moved out to Arizona, we started with BMO. Aisha, she was in our introductory call last week. Unfortunately, she did have a conflict. I do have Angeline here with us today. Not sure, Angeline, if you are with a customer or not, if you just kind of want to introduce yourself really quickly. If not, we're just going to go ahead and start. Okay. She's probably with a customer. She'll just hopefully chime in. She's actually at the branch working, so hopefully she'll chime in when she can. Okay. So the topic of our financial literacy presentation today is going to be credit scores and reports. This one I feel is probably the most important topic, especially for the younger generation, college-age kids, even kids in high school, folks that are new to the US who don't have credit. We really base everything, and I'll talk about that as we go along, on what your credit worthiness is. So if you want to reach your financial goals, whether it's home ownership, whether it's buying a car, whether it's even maybe renting, we do look at your credit kind of like a report card. If you don't have a good report card or good credit worthiness, financial institution or maybe a property manager may not want you to rent that apartment if you do not have good history. Sometimes if you have no credit, it can be a deterrent as well, because that's not showing how your repayment history will be. So we'll kind of go over what that means and what that looks like. Okay, so in this workshop, we will explore the importance of credit scores and reports, learn how to access information about your credit score and report, discuss strategies to build and improve your credit, and identify how to protect your credit from incorrect claims and fraud. Now, that's also very important as well. People don't realize this, but sometimes if there's a fraud situation, you see something on your credit report, you don't want that to negatively impact you. Because like I said before, there's a lot of things that can happen if you have goals in life that can prevent you to meet your goals. So if there's an issue, we're going to show you what you need to do to make sure that you dispute that. Okay. So how well do you know your credit score? We could just maybe put in the chat, A, I know it exactly. B, I have a rough idea. C, I don't know it. Or D, and D is perfectly fine. I don't know what a credit score is. That's perfectly fine. We're not here to judge. So, okay. So we got mixed of a little bit. I know it and maybe I don't know it, and that's perfectly fine. Yeah, it looks like a really good mix of maybe even a rough idea, So that's what we're here. We're here to help. All right. So just kind of starting from the beginning is the what. What is a credit score? So basically, it's a 3-digit rating that tells a lender how likely you are to repay debt. And there's a lot of factors that go into giving you that 3-digit rating. And we'll talk about what those factors are. And we'll also talk about what are more important factors, because there are some factors that will actually impact your credit score more than others. So if you're looking at the credit scores, there's 3 different major credit bureaus. It's going to be TransUnion, Equicore, and Equifax. So looking at the scores, if you have anything 579, I think it starts at like 579 and it goes all the way up to 850. It will be a little bit different for each of the major credit scores, but they're about the same. The scoring is about the same. So if you have a poor or maybe fair credit score, a lender may not want to have you borrow for that car, or may not want to give you the mortgage, or may not want to you be able to rent an apartment. And why? Because if you have a poor credit score, it shows that you've had some maybe delinquencies, you haven't paid your debt. So they're looking at you as a risk. And if you're a risk, they may not want to lend to you. A bank might say, we're not comfortable lending to you based on what your repayment history is. So I would say anywhere in the good range is average between 670 and 739. So if you have a credit score, oh, did somebody have a question? Okay, maybe not. So if you have a good credit score, 670 to 739, chances are you'll be able to get some credit. You'll be able to get some credit in that. Most banks look at that and say, yep, you do have a good credit history, you have good credit worthiness. When you get to the 800, 850s, I call those unicorns, because we see that, but we see it so rarely. When somebody gets over 800, those are the people that not only have exceptional credit, but have years of long-term credit, maybe 20 years of credit history. And in the 20 years, they've shown to prove that their credit report card is exceptional. But that's really hard to do, but you only get that with time. And unfortunately, if you don't have credit and you're thinking to yourself, now, how do I even begin? So you have no score. There's a such thing as a high school student, 18 years old, trying to get a car, new car. Well, you know what? You might need a cosigner because you have no credit. It's not as bad credit, but it's going to deter you from being able to borrow. Okay. So we have strategies to build credit. This will kind of also help you repair credit, but if you don't have good credit, it's going to be hard to do some of these things like open a line of credit. So some of the strategies we use as bankers is we have them open a line of credit. You might not be able to do that on your own if you have no credit, but you can have somebody co-sign with you. Also secured credit. So some banks, and we have this as well, a secured credit card where you can maybe take $300, we put it in a savings account for you, and then we take that $300 and we issue you a credit card. And that reports to all the 3 major bureaus. So again, if you do that and take out credit, it's very important that you pay on time. So we'll talk a little bit about that later on. Request that your payment history be reported. So you can, if you get an apartment, they don't have to do this, but you can ask your landlord or your property management to actually show your payment history on your credit report. There's a way they can do that. They don't have to, but it's good that you do, because if you pay on time, you're going to want to show that you have that. Open a joint account. Now, of course, if you open a joint account with somebody, you want to be on the account where someone is going to be just as diligent as you with repaying, because a joint account, you're responsible for it as well. And number 4, never pay all your bills on time and never miss a payment. And in full. If you can, pay it in full, but if it's a credit card, at least pay the minimum payment, because if you don't pay at least the minimum payment, you're going to be considered late. And if you're considered late, it's going to hurt your credit score. It's going to ding your credit. Okay, so here's a kind of a little bit of a situation. It's called The Tale of Two Friends, and I'll read it. Anna and Bella have been friends since middle school. They are both single, but both have steady incomes to pay their bills. Anna and Bella decide to buy a home in their childhood neighborhood. Bella receives a loan without any trouble. Unfortunately, Anna has a difficult time getting a loan. When Anna finally gets her loan approved, her interest rate and insurance premiums are higher than her friends. So if you want to put in the chat, what do you think happened to Anna? Like, why do you think well, number one, she was having a little bit trouble getting approved. And number two, when she finally did, not only is her interest rate higher, but her insurance premiums are higher. Okay, we have no or poor credit history. Absolutely. So that's pretty much, that pretty much sums it up by that one statement right there. This tells me that Bella has better credit and her repayment history looks better. So not only can you have trouble getting a loan, what also happens, and people forget about this, you're going to pay a premium on an interest rate. So if you go to get a car and you have really good credit, you might get a 5-6% interest rate. If you do not have good credit, you're walking out there with 11-12% on a car because they're assuming the risk and you're paying for it through the interest rate and higher insurance premiums. Your insurance premiums will even be higher if you don't have a good credit score. So it kind of impacts you all the way around. So that's why, like I said, I can't stress enough, is very, very important. Okay. So I mentioned before the 3 major credit bureaus. So we'll go over them a little bit more in detail. Here's the thing. If you have an issue with one and there's credit that, say, for whatever reason, there's fraud and there's a credit card that's under your name, because that does happen. We see that as bankers. Chances are they're reported to all 3. And it's on you. Unfortunately, it's on the victim to connect with all 3 of them and do the dispute. So the 3 major credit bureaus that are reported are Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. Those are the 3 major ones. So if you take out a car loan, they'll all be reported to the 3 major ones. Now the scoring is pretty similar. We use TransUnion for credit cards. Banks will use different credit bureaus. We will do a blend. If you want to get like a home equity, we'll do a blend of all 3. That's called a FICO score. You've probably heard of that. And like I said, if you get anything over 800, that's amazing. So, and all of them, and you see this little kind of like memo right here, they all report up to the 3 major bureaus. Okay. So this is how credit score is calculated. We kind of talked about like what a score is and how that 3-digit, everybody is assigned that 3-digit credit score. This is how it gets calculated. One is amounts owed, how much you owe, your payment history, your length of credit. Remember I mentioned before about the folks that I see that have 800 credit scores? They usually have very good long-standing credit that shows over 20 years or a 10-year period of time that they've kept their credit really good. Whether or not you have new credit. Because if you have new credit and you're not established, that might impact it. And also the last one is types of credits. And with the types of credit, it's important to have a little bit of blend of lines of credits and also installment loans. And installments is your car payments, where it's principal and interest payments. And once you pay it off, you're done. Any kind of credit like a credit card, it's called revolving debt, meaning that you pay it down, it's still available for you. You pay it back down, and then it's still available. So you have to have a good blend of both. If you only have one, it doesn't help your credit. It doesn't help your credit score as much. Now, out of the 3, if you want to put in the chat, what do you think is give me the 2 most important. What do you think the 2 most important out of the 3? Okay, we got payment history, length of credit. What else? So everyone's on the right track. Yep. Okay, we got the 2 amounts owed. So the 2 most important, and I'll explain why, is going to be your amounts owed and payment history. And I'll explain why. The payment history is pretty easy, right? You paid on time. You got to make sure you paid on time. If you don't pay it on time and you're delinquent, you're going to get dinged. That's pretty standard. Now, some people don't realize how much amounts owed really impact your credit score. So, and I'll give you an example. If you have a $5,000 credit card and you owe $4,900, your 98% utilization, that's going to hurt your credit score because it looks like you're going to be overextended. So if you try to get, it's going to impact your credit score. It will negatively, your score will drop. So sometimes when we deal with customers and they don't get approved because their credit score got lowered, and then and I could feel their pain. They say, I pay all my bills on time. I had to put things in my credit card because I wasn't getting enough hours at work. Life happens, things happen. I wasn't getting paid enough. So they use their credit cards. Well, you're not supposed to use your credit card for income. So if you look overextended, we're not going to want to, or a financial institution is not going to want to give you even more credit because we don't want to get yourself into more debt. So sometimes I'll have people with a 640 credit score, which isn't really that great. It's kind of like just under good, but they pay their bills on time. All their bills are on time. They're like, I've had credit for 5 years. I've never missed a payment. The problem is their utilization is super high. If the utilization is super high, then it's going to hurt their credit scores. So, yeah, if anybody has a question on that right there. So, we look at amounts owed, do not go more than 30%. So if you have $1,000 credit card, you can keep a revolving debt at about 300. Of course, if you put $900 on it, that's fine. Just pay it down. Pay it down so you keep under 30%. And I'll just give you a little example. I can share like a personal story. My credit score, when I have kids in their 20s, and I was like, well, trying to help them with college and books and all that kind of stuff. So I put a lot of things in my credit card. Next thing you know, my credit score was about 740. Next thing you know, it went down to like 650. I'm like, what just happened? Well, because I was using my credit cards a lot and I was getting near utilization. So when we help our customers, we tell them, the way to help your credit is you got to pay your credit cards down. You can't use that. You can't use it to supplement income. So I hope that makes sense. All right. New credit could be a little bit of a deterrent because you have to build your credit score as well, and also link the credit history. But the top two are going to be the most significant. All right. So here's another kind of situation with the two friends, a little story. Anna bought a new house, but is further away from her work than her old apartment was. She needs a new way to get to work. She would like to purchase a new car. She has taken some steps to improve her credit and is now eligible for a car loan. She now wants to use the loan to get a new car, but she has a problem. She will need someone to co-sign. She decides to ask her friend Bella for help. Now, here's the age-old question. Should Bella co-sign a loan for Anna, yes or no? See, I like that. So see, that's probably the correct answer. But what do you think? Probably not. Okay, we're getting probably not. No. Okay. So here's the answer. Zoe hit the nail on the head because it's a little bit ambiguous. The answer probably is you shouldn't, because Anna has not really shown, if she hasn't really shown good credit worthiness, you have to remember, if you co-sign a loan with somebody and your friend doesn't pay, guess who it's on? It's on you. I've seen sometimes where people are in a relationship and things go sour. Things go sour when one person leaves, guess who's stuck with the car payment? And if the other person was supposed to pay the car because they took the truck or they took the car and they're not paying it and you co-signed it, it's going to impact your credit score as well. So the answer really is it's a personal choice, maybe. I mean, if I had a childhood friend that needed a little bit of help, I probably would, but under certain circumstances. But I would not judge if you just flat out said no, because it's one of those things where you don't want to hurt yourself by helping somebody else. So the answer is a little bit ambiguous. But just remember, if you co-sign for anyone, it's technically your loan. So if Anna decides to not pay, it's Bella's responsibility. Yep, it depends on a lot of factors. Absolutely, Clara. Okay, so what is a credit report? We talked about scores. We talked about what the scores are. We talked about what impacts the score. So what's a report? Okay, so it's actually a snapshot of your credit profile. Remember I mentioned before that it's kind of like a report card. And we could see on the credit report what financial institutions you have loans with. We can understand what your credit worthiness is. We can also see there's a lot of your social security number, date of birth. We can get a really good snapshot of your likelihood to repay a loan if we gave you one. So that's why we look at credit reports. Okay. So one thing that you can do, you can actually get a free credit report. So if anybody wants to take a picture of the screen right there, it's I sent it to Zoe, so actually she has this, but you can go to www.annualcreditreport.com or that 1-800 number, and you can get one of the 3 major bureaus a free copy. And you can also get a free copy if you reported fraud, if you got denied for a loan. So if you got denied for a loan, if you try to get a loan at a financial institution, by law, there's regulatory reasons why we have to be able to allow you to see the credit report if we're denying you. So you can get a free copy if you try to get a car and you got denied, they have to be able to get you a free copy of your credit report. If you need to apply for any benefits as well, you can also get a free copy. I strongly suggest using there are some apps that will give you, they're not exactly the credit bureaus, because you can actually go into each of these credit bureaus and see your credit score. But there's apps called like Credit Karma. We have one for BMO that's called Credit View, where it kind of gives you a snapshot of your credit score, like a blend of all 3. And it also can show you what impacts your credit score and where your utilization is and where, and also what could help increase your score. Some of those applications will show you that as well. Okay, again, getting your credit score. You can request it from the 3 major bureaus. You're allowed to do that at least once a year. Otherwise, they'll charge a fee. But like I said, we use Credit View, Credit Karma, that's free. One thing I like about our Credit View on our digital app is sometimes I will help customers if I see their credit scores aren't the greatest. I said, let's go into Credit View and see what's impacting it. All right, I had a gentleman whose utilization was like 68%. I was like, well, let's look at your credit. That tells me you have some debt on your credit cards. If you start to pay them down, it'll increase your credit. So, all right, looks like we got a question. Is the report the same as a credit score in the bank apps? So what the bank apps do is they pull from TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian, and it'll give you a blend. So for example, Credit Karma is pretty close. If Credit Karma, you could be like 720 on Credit Karma, we'll pull TransUnion and it might be maybe 10 or 20 points off. So it's pretty close because they'll kind of look at a blend, because some of those apps they're not the major credit bureaus, but they can pull information from them. So it gives you a pretty close picture of it. So, but it's free. Like our bank app is free. So instead of you going, like I said, if you go to each one of them, there'll be a fee. If you have a dispute, you will have to dispute it with the 3 major credit bureaus though. All right. So reading your report. So if we pulled somebody's report, this is what we would see. We would see public records if you had any bankruptcies, lawsuits, judgment, delinquent or unpaid taxes. Yes, if you don't pay taxes and you get a tax levy, that's going to be on your credit report too. So we can see all that. So it's very important, even medical. If you do not pay medical and there's a unpaid medical bills on there, or even unpaid utility bill, it'll be on that public record. So you want to make sure you square anything or resolve anything up with the utility companies. Personal information is going to be your name, date of birth. If you were married, it'll have your previous name on there, social security number, address, name of spouse, and or employer. Credit accounts, it'll show all your debt, even it'll show student loans, and any open and closed accounts it'll show. We typically suggest, and I'll have Angeline maybe talk a little bit more about that. We typically suggest if you do a balance transfer, sometimes you'll have a bank that's like, hey, 0% balance transfers for 24 months. And you were like, oh, good, because interest can get pretty pricey on credit cards. It's 26%. And I'm lowballing that. You want to do a balance transfer, and I do it all the time. Just don't close an old card that you have, because I've seen sometimes when people think, well, I don't want to have 5 credit cards open, so they close all their credit cards, and now they have this brand new credit card that they transferred everything to. And then they're wondering why their credit dropped 50 points. Well, because now it looks like you have brand new debt because that credit card is only a couple of months old. So you want to keep a long-standing credit card for a while open, so it shows that you have that nice long-standing debt, and then you keep that debt, that repayment history on that credit card good. Okay. In credit inquiries, organizations, people, or agencies that have requested to verify your credit in the past 2 years, if you see anything on your credit report that you did not do, I would dispute that, or make sure that you're cautious, because credit inquiries can hurt you. We don't like to see people that have 6 to 8 credit inquiries in a couple of months, because we look at it like, what are you trying to do? Why are you trying to get all this credit? But it makes sense. I've had somebody actually got declined for a loan because they went to get a car, and every single auto shop he went to, or auto sales office he went to, they were running his credit and not even thinking about it. He had like 7 credit inquiries in 2 weeks. And we denied him because he had too many credit inquiries. I think we required like 6 within like 6 months. They'll fall off. It takes 2 years for them to fall off. So eventually it'll fall off. But the problem is I had to explain away why that happened. And we ultimately approved his loan. But it could look like, why are you trying to get all this credit? Why did you try to go to 7 different banks and get credit? So we can explain it away, because it happens, but you do have to be careful if you're going shopping for a car, that people are just not running your credit willy-nilly, because that might impact. Sometimes if you get a credit inquiry, it'll drop your points like drop your credit 2-3 points, which isn't significant, but it can happen. So keep that in mind. All right. So we got important dates to review. Date your account was open. As I mentioned, make sure if you have a longer, older credit card, do not close it. Make sure you keep that. Dates of delinquency. The reason why that's important, because if you had an oopsie, I work for a bank and I've been there. You just forget to pay your credit card. That's why I like auto pay, because life happens, you never know. The only thing that's going to help the dates of delinquency is time. Just pick it back up and make sure you pay from now on. When we look at your credit report, it's like a 2-year snapshot that'll go back 2 years, and we can see any delinquencies in 2 years. We call it a ding, but it'll show every single month for the last 2 years, and whether or not it'll score like a 1 is paid on time, a 2 is 30 days late, a 3 is 90 days late. We want to see all 1s across. But if, out of the 2 years, we see 1, 2, or 3, like a year back, it's not going to be detrimental, but you want to make sure you have a nice clean record. And the only thing that's going to help that is, like I said, just get back on track and start paying on time. Time's going to help that. Dates of public records. if you had unfortunate bankruptcy or any judgments, it'll fall off your credit, but that takes time. I believe any judgment is 7 years and bankruptcy might be 10. So all is not lost if you had an unfortunate situation where you had to go bankrupt. But again, time is the only thing that's going to help that, and also establishing good repayment history. We've had people that had unfortunate bankruptcies, and we just get them a secured credit card, and we have some credit builder loans to get them back on track. So it'll definitely help increase their credit score. So sometimes, people go through divorces and they have to go bankrupt, or their credit score goes down because they're losing that second income. But we will help them repair that back up. And dates of credit requests. So those inquiries, like I said, will fall off after 2 years. Okay. So now we talk about dispute. How to dispute items on your credit report. The easiest way to do this right here talks about writing a letter to the reporting agency. The easiest thing to do really is to just go online, because now that we have a pretty robust online website the credit bureaus have, you can actually dispute it right online. But you will sometimes have to submit supporting documentation, because the burden of proof is going to be on you. If you can't just say, well, that's not mine. Okay. You have to, and you do have to do a certified letter. I've helped customers with disputing things on the credit report. Yes, unfortunately, you do have to do all three. I've had some folks that came out of recovery, maybe spent some time in prison, and next thing you know, somebody took out a credit card in their name. We had to send in supporting documentation saying it couldn't have been them, because they were incarcerated. So sometimes the burden is on you to provide them that information to say that that was not you, or why you think that, or why you're disputing it. So, steps of repairing credit. Again, monitor your credit reports and scores. I say at least once a month, look at your credit report, because if all of a sudden you see, your credit is 720 and then it's 660, what happened? Could it be fraud? Could you have maybe sent a payment in and it never got applied to your credit card? There could be a lot of different things that could have impacted that, and you want to stay on top of it. Pay your bills regularly and on time. That's going to be key. Because that, like I said, you want those little check marks on your report card that shows that you're paying that. Get credit counseling. There's actually free credit counseling that you can get. Just be careful about the credit counseling, because there are some scams out there that want you to pay and they don't really help you. And consider financial products. If you have a banker, a personal banker, I strongly suggest connecting with the bank, because this is what we do. I mentioned before, I've been in banking a lot of years, and I've seen people on the struggle bus to, next thing you know, even like with businesses, build a business to where they're actually affluent, where they have a really good support system. We will suggest, whether it's consolidating debt, we'll suggest some products. If you're just starting out, we have some secured products you can do that to help even start you get credit or build credit. You got to start somewhere. But sometimes if people get themselves in too much debt, we'll suggest consolidation loans. But that'll help. It'll help in the long run. Okay. So Credit Repair Organizations Act. So there was an act that was passed through Congress that protects the rights of the consumer. So basically, it prevents any credit repair organizations from engaging in false advertisement and deceptive parties that can cause you harm. So if you see an agency that are telling you that they're guaranteeing that they're going to wipe all your debt or your spoofs or any derogatory information, they're lying to you. Because if there's derogatory information and you missed payments or you didn't pay on time, that has to stay on your credit report. There's no magic wand that's just going to wave that away. The only thing that's going to help is time. So I've seen some fraudsters out there that'll say, hey, pay me $500 and I'm going to take all that off your credit. It's not going to happen. If it was your legitimate your legitimate credit and you didn't pay, you just have to figure out how to either settle with them or make good on that, because it's not going to just be taken off your credit. Okay. And so here's just an example of a credit repair scams. And this is a good segue into kind of what we were talking about. To improve her credit, Anna researches several credit repair companies. The first company promises to remove bad credit and information from Anna's report. All she has to do is pay an upfront fee. Anna is worried about her bad debts, but the company assures her that they can scrub all negative information from her report. The company also advises Anna not to contact the credit bureaus directly, since doing so will negatively affect the company's efforts. So a couple of red flags here. Number one, don't pay an upfront fee. Number two, no one is going to promise to scrub all negative information. They might be able to help you with some, but not all. Because if it's legitimately yours, it has to stay on there. And if a company says do not contact the major credit bureaus directly, then something's wrong with that. Because you can do that. You can contact them anytime you want to. It's not going to negatively affect you. So that just tells me that something's a little odd with that. So just be careful. There are some legitimate companies out there, but you just have to be careful. Okay. So again, red flags of a credit repair scam: requesting all upfront fees for a credit repair service, a promise to scrub all negative information, a promise to scrub or alter legitimate information, because you can't alter legitimate information, a warning not to contact the credit bureaus directly, because you're entitled to dispute errors for free. It's your legal right. And I just want to point that out, because someone can help you. I've seen people where, like I mentioned before, there are legitimate companies that will help you. So they'll do all the legwork for you. Now, if you want to pay a couple $100 to help you dispute some things, that's your prerogative, but you can do it for free. You can do it with the major credit bureaus for free. It's just going to take time and a little bit of late work and some letters for you. But as I mentioned before, I've helped customers do that. I've helped them write draft letters to send them to the credit bureau. So if you got a good relationship with your banker, they can help you do that. Or if you pay a couple $100, you can get a company can do that for you, but just be wary of scams out there. Other signs of credit repair scams: asking for a signature on blank paperwork. Never sign anything that's blank. So even if the bank asks you to, nobody in a bank is going to ask you to sign anything blank, but never do that. Credit profile number scams and fake social security number scams. I've actually heard of this before, where people are like, oh, we're just going to get you a brand new social security number. That's not going to happen. You can dispute what's on your social security and delete bad information, but you're not going to get a whole new social security number starting from scratch. I've actually seen people do that, and unfortunately it didn't turn out well. Okay. So I mentioned before, there's some credit counseling services. So these are provided. You got the National Foundation for Credit Counseling and also Financial Coaching Association of America. So these are some credit counselors that are that were the act that I mentioned before, passed by Congress to help you. And these are free. There might be some services that services they provide that do cost money, but these are free just to get counseling. So I also would say not bad if you have any questions and you don't have a banker that can help you, can certainly get information on here. Okay. So kind of just surmise strategies to improve credit. Mentioned before, use less than 30% of your available credit. So your available credit means if you took every single credit card you have, including some retail credit cards, like if you have a credit card for Kohl's or any of the major retailers, that's included in every available credit you have. So if you have two credit cards, one has $1,000 limit, one has a $2,000 limit, that means your available credit's $3,000. You want to keep it under 30%. Do not max out your credit cards. That I've seen credit scores tank 100 points by doing that. I mean, it pretty much happened to me too. So I know full well that pay your bills on time, pay off your credit card bills each month in full if possible. If you can't do it in full, it's very hard to do it in full. I mean, most people I know can't pay all their credit cards in full, especially if they had to put maybe their car pairs on there that were a little costly. You might have to pay it in segments, so that as long as you pay the minimum, that's fine. Pay off your loans on time. If you have a mortgage, a car payment, any type of installment, we call those installment loans where they're principal and interest payments, make sure you pay those on time. Do not apply for multiple loans and credit cards at the same time. I gave you the example about the car, going to look for a car. Sometimes they'll run your credit if you're not decided on what car you want. That can impact your credit. Make a financial plan or debt management plan to reduce debt. Budgeting is really important. I think there's some value in us doing a budgeting presentation to show you kind of like how to look at your wants and your needs and what would be a good budget plan. And follow the monthly budget. If you create a budget, it's only good if you follow it, right? And review your credit report for accuracy. I would encourage everyone to do that, even if you use an app like Credit Karma, or our app is called Credit View. Most banks will have their own kind of credit assessment app. Okay, so today you learned the following: how to understand the importance of credit scores and reports, how to access information about your credit scores and reports. And we even talked about what is a report, right? How to identify strategies to build and improve your credit, and how to protect your credit from incorrect claims and frauds. Okay, I know that was a lot. So what questions do you have for us? I don't know, Angeline, are you available now, Angeline, just to kind of say hello?
Yes, I am here. Hi, everyone. I am here. I see there's a question in the chat. It says, "Is the report from Betwa?" I don't know if you had answered this one. Is the report the same as the credit score in the bank apps? Did you answer that?
I did. If you want to elaborate on that, Angeline, because we pull information, that's where we get the information from. So it's going to be generally the same. But you've probably seen, like me, if we look at Credit Karma, it's going to be off maybe 10, 20 points, but it'll be similar. I mean, it's good to I think anything that helps you kind of get a little snapshot or understanding of where you are is very important. So
Okay. So I think I'll answer. There's one question from Zoe.
oh,
It's asking, how do I use a credit card in a smart way? So I'll just try to take from what Anne has said. Always use less than 30% of your available credit. Try to do that and always use what you have. People think that when they get a credit card, they can just use it's money they don't have to pay back. The excitement is there. You're getting 1,500 that you didn't have, and you think, oh, this money is mine to use, but it's something that you owe the bank. So the good way of maintaining your credit is use what you have. And a good way that I have mastered using the credit card is if I use $200 and let me put it back in the next 3 days. I'm just cushioning myself. If I use it to pay rent, it's money that I knew I was supposed to pay. Let me pay it back in 3 days. And don't over max. Like, I cannot overemphasize, don't max out your credit card like you. And I've been hit hard. I think I went down 100 points because I used my credit card and I maxed out my credit card. So avoid maxing out your credit card. They really hit hard. They just say, "Oh, you're not responsible enough, and we've given you a limit." So it's or take it as a test when you're given a credit card. The bank is trying to see, are you responsible for more money than what we have given you? If we give you more, are you going to be able to manage it? So this shows by how you manage the credit that they've given you. If they've given you 500, are you responsible enough to pay it back? So when you go into the bank and you say, okay, I've used my 500, I'm now asking for a credit upraise. Can you give me more credit to 1.5? And they'll look at that report and they say, oh, you're responsible enough. So you are responsible with that 1,500. So that's the smart way of using the credit card. Take it as a loan. You owe someone, pay back what you use, what you can, and live within your means. That's what I can say. That's a smart way for me.
Yeah, no, you explained it perfectly, Angeline.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we don't want to, if you're almost maxed out, it'll look like you're using it for income. So we don't want to extend more credit to somebody who's having a hard time managing their budget or where they're at, because it's just going to lead to disaster, and it's going to impact your credit score too. So, and we do have something that's called a credit boost, where we give you, and it's as low as I think $300,
Mm-hmm.
where you can actually put a saving money in a savings, and we'll give you a credit card, and that starts building your own credit, where you don't need a cosigner. And the nice thing about it is it's a small amount, so you can't get yourself into trouble, but you still have to make sure you're paying that as agreed. You're paying at least the minimum payment. It's good to pay it off all at once, because it shows that your utilization will be down. But if you don't have at least a secured credit card, that's going to be the best way to start, I think. And Angeline can help you with that. You do those, right, Angeline?
Yes.
Okay.
That's a very good way to start. Is 300 is something you can manage, and it's almost like you're teaching yourself how to use a credit card, because you borrow your own money and you just pay it on
Mhm.
time. You train yourself. That's a good way of getting into the usage, especially for those that don't have credit. I would encourage to get a Boost credit card, and then you can take it from there. You use what you can and you pay it back. And we do that anyway in BMO. And I just want to tell you, those that are in Arizona or everywhere that you're free to reach out to me, and I can be your banker, regardless of where you are. We've got codes that we can give you, and I can help you through the application process. If you've got any questions after this, you still want a banker to work with, I can work with you, and yeah, and introduce you to other bankers, so that you're not alone in this financial sector.
So there's a question if you will get your deposit back. Yes, that's your money in the savings. So you will get that back once you because after you build your own credit, you don't need a secure. You would just get a regular. And the nice thing about the credit report, it doesn't tell the credit report if it's secured or not. It just looks like a regular credit card. So,
Right.
and there's a question that says, if I go over my credit utilization but pay it back before the statement due date or when the automatic due date, does that affect my credit score? So it's always good when you pay it, try to pay as much down before your due date. Because if you don't, that's how they factor in your utilization.
Mm-hmm.
Try to pay as much down to keep you under the 30%.
And also, people have a pre-assumption that if I pay what is due, I have paid my credit card. But what you don't understand is that your interest is charged on your balance. So you always be owing. And
Mhm.
it so it you're not paying anything. If in any case you start be paying your interest. So do not just pay what you owe. Remain under the 30% mark, and stay in that utilization. And if you do pay, can you pay all that you have used? So if you pay the minimum $20, you're not doing yourself a favor. You're just going to prolong the amount that you have, and you're going to keep that debt with you for a very long time, and it's going to affect all other things that you want to do in this life.
Yeah, and and to your point too, interest. I mean, if you can do it, there's sometimes I can't pay my credit card in full, especially like I said, emergencies or car repairs, but if you can do it, try to do it. I like that question about under what conditions could increasing credit limit hurt the credit score instead of boosting it. So if you increase your credit limit, that helps you as well. So if your credit's good enough to say, hey, I have a $5,000 credit, can I go to 10,000? Because I typically keep 1,000 or two on my credit. That's going to help your credit score too, because then it's going to reduce your utilization amount. If that's what you're asking, Clara, but that's a really good question. So,
And I see
when
another
is
question. Okay, you
yeah,
can go ahead.
when is a good time to open a credit account? There's no, I guess at any time is a good time. Depends on what you're trying to do. I mean, if you're trying to establish credit, would I open a credit account if I'm already established and I didn't need it for a specific reason? I would never suggest that to a customer. Just open a credit. We sometimes have good promos where we do balance transfers. At that time, I would. But if you are trying to build credit or repair credit, that might be a good time to do it.
So I'll answer Tapiwa Zomunya. He said, if I'm paying rent with a roommate and the main account is my roommate's account, is there a way for me to get a credit score for the share of my rent?
Not if your name is not on the, because you can ask the landlord, they don't have to do this. But
Yeah.
even with some utility bills, you can request that they, like if you have a cell phone bill, you can request that they report it. They don't have to, so they might tell you no. But if your name is not on the lease, that's going to be hard to get them to, because if the person responsible for it is the name that's on the lease for rent.
Yeah. I think it's only wise to get your portion of the rent reported because if your name is not there on the lease or on the account, it's not going to do you any good. It's the person that is on the lease.
I see another question that says my utilization keeps changing because of using my credit card for varying expenses, all still below 10%. I notice my score is greatly affected by the small changes monthly. Any advice to avoid score drops?
Pay the bill, pay it on time in full. There's gonna be variances when you use your credit card, unfortunately. That's something that just comes with the territory when it comes to that. But 10% utilization shouldn't really impact your credit score that much, because that's actually pretty good, 10%.
Okay. And then Favor says, could you explain more on utilization? I'm a bit confused on if utilization is your overall use of the card over the month, or is it the balance left on your due date?
So it would be the overall use of your credit limit. So if you have a credit card that has a $5,000 limit, utilization is how much of that $5,000 do you use? It's not on really what you owe. Well, what you use. Yeah. If that makes sense.
And then we have Frank. He says, how long does it take for the credit score to improve after a hard inquiry?
So a hard inquiry drops your points drops your score a couple of points. It doesn't really impact it that much, but just like I mentioned with mostly everything, it's time. It drops off after 2 years. So after 6 months, you can easily make up the couple of points by bringing your utilization down.
So I know Clara had her hand up. Clara, would you still like to ask your question?
Okay, my question was actually to say, well, does increasing my credit limit really have an effect? on my credit score and under what conditions? Because I've heard the upside of it to say it will reduce like my utilization and it will really improve my credit score. But what's the downside of it?
Oh, I'm sorry. Did she ask what's the downside of it? Sounded like she was cutting in and out a little bit.
Yeah, she said, what's the downside of, increasing her credit limit?
There really isn't any. We actually suggest that.
Mm.
I only say the downsides of it is if you don't have good and I'll just give you an example of my daughter. When she was 18, she got a credit card and then she maxed it out and then she increased it. It didn't help her because she was a spender. So if you increase it and you're someone who isn't knowingly increase it, and some people, if they have credit, they'll use it, and that's not something that we suggest. So it won't hurt if you increase it. I think if anything, it'll help you. We also offer home equity loans where you can get like a $50,000 line of credit on your house, if provided you have that equity. People use it for home repairs, but that helps your credit score tremendously because now you have this $50,000 line, and if you don't use it and you have it there just in case my roof caves in, or it can help your credit score. So it doesn't hurt you; it'll help you. So
Okay, so
so
I'm just gonna read the last couple of questions before we close off. We've got Shemaya who asks, how does rent reporting for credit work? Does it increase your credit limit or utilization?
So rent reporting is not based on utilization. The only thing that is on utilization is any revolving debt. So if you have a car payment, that doesn't factor in your utilization because that's principal and interest. So when you take out a car loan, say $10,000, you got to pay back 10,000 plus interest. So they'll make your car payment 459.86 every month for 5 years, and then you're done. That car loan doesn't factor into utilization because it's not revolving. You have to pay that. Whereas a credit card or revolving debt, you can choose to pay how much you want to pay. You have to pay the minimum, but so that's where the utilization is based on that revolving debt, how much you can manage all that. Because you can have a credit card for 20 years, it will never close. Whereas a car payment, once you're done, you're done. You don't get that car payment back. You have to reapply for another car payment. So Frank, he dropped 13 points. I mean, it's possible. Usually we see like 5 or 6 points after one hard inquiry, but if you don't have installment, which I mentioned, where it's the principal and interest payment and revolving debt, that might happen because you need a blend of everything. So one inquiry is going to impact you, but usually we see like maybe 6 points. So
Okay,
on
I
rent
think,
reporting,
yeah.
since it's not on your credit card per se, reported by your landlord. Yeah, it's reported by a landlord. So it's just a different type of loan. How do you increase your credit limit? You could you can call your credit card company and have them increase it, but they will look at your past performance. They will look at your credit score with everything, and also your credit with everything else. So that's a good question, but it would have to be through the credit card company that will do that. And like anything else, it's this assessment of how your credit worthiness is to be able for them to judge whether or not they want to do the increase. So
All right, thank you
can
so much, Anne-Marie.
can they do it without requesting? Sometimes they do.
Oh,
If you have a credit card for a while, you'll automatically get, oh, we increased you 1,000. Because if you're showing them really good history, they'll increase you because they want you to spend because they get interest. So a lot of credit cards companies sneakily do that. So I want to be mindful of your time. I can go on forever with this, but I know Zoe, I want to be mindful of your time. We also, can I just really briefly talk about like that one perk that we got for all you guys with the incentive to open the account?
Mhm.
I'll drop Angeline, if you're still on, can you drop your email on there? So just for you guys, what we have is it's not available to the general public. Where we have a code just for you, we got permission. We have free checking just like everybody else. No minimum balance requirements, no monthly service charges. You can literally have a penny in your account. We won't charge you. We have 40,000 ATMs in the United States. So we have more than the bigger banks out there. We're in about 32 states as far as branches, but if you move direct deposit, the incentive, the qualifier is direct deposit. But if you had direct deposit, you move direct deposit, we can get you up to $400, a nice bonus, and we'll just pop it right into your account. The qualifier is you do have to do direct deposit. Otherwise, you get a free account with a debit card where you can use 40,000 ATMs. So it's a pretty good promo that we did just for you. Plus, you have Angeline and Aisha. If you have any questions about credit, you want to go more in debt, like a one-on-one, please reach out to them. And me too. That's my, I kind of do this for all the branches, so I support all of them. But thank you, everybody. We got some really great questions. Hopefully we helped. Hopefully we helped.
Yes, hopefully people got the answers that they needed. And if you have any more questions, feel free to reach out to Anne-Marie, to Angeline, to Aisha. They're here to help you. And then I also just put a link to Smart Progress. It's an online thing that has different courses that you can do at your own pace that teach you about credit scores, about budgeting, about making investments. So this is something that you definitely want to take a look at. There's a tutorial that shows you how to use it. And then there's also the link of the actual page to go to Smart Progress. If there's anything else, I'll hand it over to Katemwa.
Thank you so much, Zoe. I guess just final thanks so much. Thank you so much, Anne-Marie and Angeline, for taking your time to be here. It means so much to us, especially because we had talked about how credit is kind of new to most of us as international students. So it means so much that you answered all of our questions, and of course that you have this amazing offer. We really, really appreciate you. And to everyone, please take advantage of this opportunity. You don't just walk around every day and find people willing to invest their time and their resources into us. But yeah, thank you so much for attending. And I hope everyone has a great afternoon. The recording will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. So yeah, so hopefully those who missed it because of timing and stuff would still be able to watch. But thank you so much. Thank you, Zoe, for arranging everything, for hosting. It's been great.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Got some great questions. Thanks. Let us know if you need anything. Appreciate you.
Yeah, for those that open their accounts or are looking forward to opening their accounts, and you need help, just reach out. I will help you through.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
And we're all available for that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Same to you.